mate. How are we?
I'm good. How are you?
Tip top, thank you. Tip top.
Look at this. I'm preparing. I've not got my new snood yet, but I feel like it's time. It's time for me to just get this.
It's time. My new snood's just arrived here. I thought I'd give it the full demonstration on the backboard here. But the snoods are getting delivered. I've had a few friends who got theirs today, so we're just gearing up for another Doddie Aid 2022.
It's going to be massive, and it's I don't know. It's an exciting time, just sort of being involved in this whole build up. And so, Davy, thank you for joining me. I think we've maybe talked about doing this for a year. You know, we always said let's get the podcast done. Let's do this, and what a year it's been. How are you?
I'm good, Nashy. Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. What a year it's been. You know, from to rewind back to January 1st, 2021, what we managed to achieve with Doddie Aid, the inaugural Doddie Aid, was just tremendous. You know, I think it came at a time where people were looking for motivation, even more motivation, a sense of community, which I think Doddie Aid provided. You know, because it was lockdown. It was mid-lockdown at the time. So what a January that was. So I'm sure we can probably cover off a little bit about Doddie Aid later on. But it's been a big year for me and my family this year. Last time we spoke, Nashy, I wasn't a father, which I am now. So I became a father to young Alexander back in March. This year, which has been, as I know you know, it's been quite a game-changing experience this year. And my wife, Evie, and I, we could not be happier. Alec is a little rascal, is keeping us very busy. And again, giving me even more motivation to face challenges, to conquer mountains, and beat this bastard disease, which I'm living with.
Yeah. Have you had much sleep yet? Is he letting you sleep?
Oh boy, if you asked me that a couple months ago, I'd say no. He's better now. In fact, I had a work trip to Italy last week, so I spent about 10 days in Piemonte, just south of Turin. And I had a few late nights with dinners and whatnot with that, but I got a lot more sleep last week than I have done, the last few months. But honestly, he's sleeping pretty well now. He'll wake up a couple of times, and then I'll take the early shift when he wakes up. It was at 20 to 6 this morning, so not too bad. Not too bad.
Well, that's good. No, we all saw that. We all knew. I remember talking when we did World in a Day. I remember talking to you throughout the day while you were putting the miles in about dad life and how things are going to change and how excited. And it's so just seeing the updates on social media and everything you and your family are doing and achieving. It's awesome. So congrats.
Thank you, Nashy.
It's so great to see little Alec here. And mate, talking, just you mentioned there obviously living with MND. How did you prepare for fatherhood, knowing the condition that you're living with, what is around the corner, what you're battling with every day? You obviously need to look at fatherhood different to dads that obviously don't have the disease and don't have the battle.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, that's a tricky question, for me to answer, because what is the challenge with MMD is obviously my timelines are uncertain, and with with becoming a father, you will do anything and everything you can to extend your own timelines to make sure you are there to be the best father you can be today and in the future. So it's been there's been some soul searching times, and I think prior to fatherhood, Jenny had to ask some very deep, very searching questions. But I don't think fatherhood has changed my outlook at all in terms of living for every day, living for I live for my family and the wider cause, but I now live for my wife, I live for my son now. So if anything, it's given me greater motivation. MMD, I think I've every year, every day, I learn more about the condition and how I cope with the condition. And the reality is, I'm now 12, 11 months better informed than when I spoke to you last, Nashy, about living with the disease.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm unlucky to get diagnosed with MND when I'm 30, but I'm incredibly lucky to have, a type of motor neuron disease which is slow to progress, and that I can, although I'm getting worse, and I know I am, I can manage it to the best of my abilities by keeping fit, by keeping positive, keeping motivated. And so I don't think my outlook has changed having little Alexander, but it's given me even more motivation to tackle it head on and manage it the best I can.
Yeah, and watching everything you do, and all the listeners to this show, but seeing you captain Team Edinburgh and telling your story and putting it out there, and just letting us all know what you're up against, because we can see it with Doddie, we can see it with Rob Burrow, and you telling your story. It's so valuable to see and to hear what your struggles are, but how you are embracing life and taking as much as you can out of it. And something that I've put out there a lot, and it's something I heard or read many, many years ago, that we all say we're willing to die for our kids. Are we really willing to live for our kids? Be there, be present. And I'm guilty. I sit on screens, we do all that. We all fall into that. We try our best. We want to be present in our kids' life, but you've been dealt that hand that you've had to adjust and make sure that you are there. You are giving your all for the wee man and for your wife and for your family. Because I don't know if I'm going to hold tears back on this podcast, to be honest, because I've been thinking about it all day, and I've been speaking to Abby, my wife, about you and everything that's been going on. And there's your brother Tommy, and how far your family reaches, and just how good the support has been around you.
Yeah, and I think, oh boy, it's hard not to. And I have to. I need to. I try and distance myself from that raw emotion, because I think if I let the gates go, tsunamis would just start breaking it.
Yeah, good on you.
But it's Spartan defense. You're only as strong enough as the person beside you. And I'm lucky for me. I've got my twin brother Tommy beside me, and then my wife Eve on the other side, and then my family, my other brother, my three other brothers, Felix, Story, Danny. We're such a strong team sheet and support for each of us. And I think obviously our situation has been so difficult, with the set of cards I've been dealt over the last few years. But it's been also, I think, it's been really life affirming, and it's brought us even closer together as a family, and not only as a family, as a unit, as a team to fight this head on. And I think, if anything, again, I can spin positives out of any situation, because I've got to, right? But it's given us even more fuel to make sure that we are living in the present, living for today, and living for each other. I think it's, as you said, Nashy, it's so easy to be vacant, not be in the room, be elsewhere, have just whether we've all got our own commitments on our own, whether it be work stresses, social pressures, whatever it might be. It's given us, having something as severe, the news we've had as severe as it was, it's given us more clarity to be. I'm sort of talking about yourself here, but it's given me more clarity and what's the word I'm looking for? To live without compromise. And actually, what I'm doing is, I'm all in. It was painful for me to be away for work last week. I love my job. I get to travel around the world tasting wine, meeting amazing people. I'm very lucky in that sense. But I'm fully into being a dad. I'm fully into fighting my cause and making sure I'm doing everything I can, to set everything up for the future for wee Alexander and Evie. So it's been there's been some soul searching questions, and I haven't fully answered them yet, Nashy. And I think will I ever? But I'm doing everything I can to make sure I'm as present and as strong as I can be.
I saw this week on Instagram that you were mixing with the enemy. You were down in the south. how is Doddie? How are things with the big man?
Oh, it was so good to see Doddie. He was on top form. He's been a great support to me. I was down in the we shared some of was physiotherapy, some of his medical support. He's got down the borders that he was kind enough to give me contacts for. So we see a similar amount of people down there. A great guy called Bruce. Who's a great support to Doddie, I know, and now to me. And so I caught up with him and Kathy and a few of the boys on the farm. Tell you what, yeah, cracking cup of coffee.
Is that right?
At the big man's place, cracking cup of coffee.
Is there any whiskey in that? Or any?
Nah, sadly not. I was driving. I mean, I could have had a wee snifter, but no, it was just the caffeine hit. And it was great. It was great to catch up with him. We were talking about all sorts of things, partly, about the shared experience, the reason I'm here, the reason I'm captain team Edinburgh, the reason, we're doing this is our Doddie and I's fates, our health, our lives are interlinked, tragically, but they are. So I think, we got to support and we got to inspire each other on as much as anything else. And I felt very much inspired by spending some time with the big man. We talked all about, some of the treatments we both had, some of the drugs we've had or not had, quite a bit about tactics. Doddie Aid, I think Kathy and Doddie, they were playing their cards very close to their chest. But I think I got a couple of sort of looks in behind the curtain. And then we talked a lot about wine too. The big man, he has Sicilian red wines are his poison. So we talked a lot about Sicilian reds.
I mean, the two of you sitting just exchanging notes, but having someone like Doddie and he having you to talk about what you're both going through, and you having sort of Kathy's side of thing when you've got your wife's side. The way Doddie Aid and the way My Name is Doddie Foundation has developed, it's incredible. Not just for helping you guys, but further afield, for getting government, the 50 million grant that's been presented, everything that's going on that Doddie has been sort of spearheading with the infrastructure behind. It's so good to hear that, you've got each other, but then that reaches beyond you two.
Yeah, it's just honestly what I mean. Hats off. Credible credit's due, but what Doddie has done for the wider cause has been, phenomenal. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal. And I think there's a lot of Kevin Seinfeld, Rob Burrows, what Sally Nugent's done about the BBC documentaries too. I mean, there's a lot of people in the frame, but but really I think almost one of the nucleus points is the way Doddie has faced MMD face on, and something which isn't easy to do in any walk of life or in any medical challenge you have, but is to push back on what the doctors are telling you. He was diagnosed a couple of years before I was, but even at the progress in terms of medical understanding and research between then and now, it's a different landscape totally, and part of that is because he didn't like the answers he was finding. He didn't believe the answers were well researched, or the opportunities to understand his conditions further were being met. So he managed to push back on that. And then secondly, I think in terms of the social awareness and using his his position and his network across the sports community, rugby community, to make sure that people are understanding that some of the challenges here. It's been absolutely phenomenal, legendary, and the fact that this united united front, which actually we were hugely deflated after old Rishi Sunak, because it wasn't in the first budget, the 50 million, which is really discouraging. We were feeling very dejected after, because actually it's because this money is critical. I've got skin in this game. Without that money, I might not make 40. I might not make 50. You know, I don't know honestly. I mean, it's so we're so interlinked here. And the fact that, you know, this funding has come up, I mean, this will absolutely game change, revolutionise what's already in the pipeline in terms of, you know, some very, very amazing, bright doctors and professors who are using the money that Doddie's raised, other money from other charities to actually streamline and collectively understand some of these different research channels, and then correctly invest to actually get meaningful results to help people like Doddie, to help people like me, and then the wider MND community. So what Doddie's done is absolutely extraordinary.
Am I right in saying when someone's diagnosed with MND, it's usually sort of 18 months to 2 years, and you might be in a wheelchair, you might need help breathing and things like that. With everything that sort of the foundation's done and progress, is it different now when someone's diagnosed that they're told there's every chance you will live on much longer, because we're seeing guys like you and Doddie who are going well beyond what was predicted?
Oh boy, I mean, I wouldn't like to know, like, nail like stats for sure, because I don't know them, I'm afraid. But I do know that, you know, the average age from the day of diagnosis is about 18 months, between 18 months and 2 years. So call it 2 years.
Okay.
I think within that, obviously, that's the median in the middle there. Obviously, there's a much larger spectrum. Some people die a lot quicker, and then obviously, you know, people like Doddie and myself, you know, we're, you know, call it lucky. You know, we're fortunate enough to you know, to have longer timelines in front of us. I think, you know, there's a few things at play here, because actually, I think partly is there's the research and understanding around the different types of MMD. Generally, you know, when I was first diagnosed, it was monolemic antropathy, which basically means one arm, a wasting of one arm, which actually is now, you know, it's spreading further than that. But that was the type of MMD I first was diagnosed with, which again, Doddie can correct me, but I believe that's the first type. First, Doddie had two. People, for instance, who have MMD, which affects their respiratory systems, or their neck, or their swallowing muscles, or their lungs first, you know, of course, they are more likely to have a shorter timeline. In case, but again, you know, it's very, very difficult to understand, because, you know, it's all about the wasting of your neuron cells, you know, firing messages to your muscles and your nervous system. But obviously, it manifests itself very differently in different people. I think if, you know, even, you know, in the few years I've been living with the disease, I even think now, you know, if some poor bastard was going to get diagnosed tomorrow, I think, you know, they'd have better options from tomorrow than I did when I got diagnosed 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I hope that will only get better in the future for anyone who's unfortunate enough to be diagnosed with the condition.
I remember during World in a Day last year, when you were on your bike, you mentioned that it was your hand, and you mentioned there your arm. What has developed throughout the year? Where are you seeing things changing now within your body?
Well, it's really, I mean, it's upper body for me. You know, I can still get the watts out on the bike at the moment, which I'll be cracking up the training in January. But in terms of hands, yeah, my left hand's a lot worse, you know, in terms of my dexterity and grip. You can see I've got no muscle in my, I mean, you can't really tell the light, but I've got really very little muscle in my left hand at all now. So although my grip for handlebars is okay, in terms of, you know, giving you a thumbs up with my left hand, gripping something with my left hand, you know, it's a challenge for me now. You know, I do not that dexterity with my thumb, and that's extending up to my left arm across my, you know, in my shoulders and biceps now. When someone, you know, from a selfish point of view or vain point of view, someone who's used to like, you know, keeping fit, working out, you know, it's been really difficult to lose strength, lose dexterity, lose mass. And then on the other side, you know, my right hand is just going the same way now. I was sort of not kidding myself, but I wasn't looking at it directly in the eye. I was like, left arm, left side's going, but at least I've got my right keeping me strong. My right is a lot better. It's way ahead of where my left is, but it is going the same way. So I'm doing again everything I can to make sure that I'm keeping dexterity, strength in my hands, my wrists, my arms, my shoulders, which asked me 10 months ago or 11 months ago was actually making sure I can do my gears or my cipollini. Now I want to make sure that I can dress my son, dress myself appropriately too. So I mean, there's some real challenges I've got coming down the road.
Yeah, and with World in a Day that we've got coming up, that's obviously 240 miles in a day, led by Mark Beaumont, and some real inspirational characters that we're sort of planning and dealing with, planning and speaking with just now to get that day set up and the schedule in order and everything that's coming. But I mean, how important is that month for you personally, just to get Team Edinburgh? But it's not just about Team Edinburgh, it's about everything that goes on. And we're laughing. I mean, I'm saying you've been down mixing with the South. I'm hosting the Barbarians podcast throughout the month. So
unbelievable. All right. Well, you can get some inside information for Team Edinburgh then.
Yeah,
Nashy.
Captain, I apologise, but I was asked and I said yes. And the guest list for that's looking pretty exciting, just to get some real big international rugby players from around the world and beyond rugby to talk about the foundation, to talk about what's going on, and then try and get them to join us on the day when you guys are all on the bike and I'm here trying to master ceremony. So it's all to play for. It's all coming. But that month yourself, Davy, I know it's important. It's a silly quid, but what does that month mean to you? That we've got a month. We've got a month to get after it, to go for it and raise as much as we can.
I mean, it's huge. It's huge, and I think it's huge for a multitude of reasons. Nashy, one is about it's about the money raised. It's about and how I mean now know when I think I think this year would be great. The foundation can it'll to explain a little bit more about what the money will be actually used for, what channels it will go into, who can help, the type of people it can help. The money will raise in January and the lead up and during January and into February actually, because it's the finale is the Doddie Aid Cup in Cardiff on the 12th of February. So we got 6 weeks this year. So bring it on. But I think the month of January for me, I got a lot of emotion wrapped up in it. Partly, because I want to make sure Team Edinburgh come out swinging, which I know we'll do. But but also I'm quite exposed. I mean, my story is exposed in it too. So I think there's one thing that being surrounded by this incredible team, incredible people, let alone Team Edinburgh, but in the wider Doddie Aid community. But I need to face my situation head on. I think I'm living with a condition, and it's the reality is it's the money we all raised will help people like me. So I've got not even skin. I've got flesh and blood. I've got nerves. I've got my motor neurons in this game. And I think I want to thank everyone in advance and anyone listening who doesn't know about Doddie Aid enough yet, but to please sign up for Team Edinburgh, of course, because it's such a valuable month. Not in terms of the money we raise, but the social awareness and the sense of community, which we can follow on from that. Just what we did early in 2021 with the first round of Doddie Aid. The £1.2 million raised, 27,000 people involved. I mean, it was astonishing, but the monetary value or the amount of people involved, that's only one metric of it. Actually, it's around the whole wider social movement and understanding around motor neuron disease, and I suppose the wider community actually trying to understand what the disease is and how they can help. I think that was incredibly inspiring to be part of. So I just I hope we can do the same again. I know we can, but we need to make sure that it's even better and grander and more successful than it was this year.
Yeah, and to anyone listening, the Doddie Aid is from the 1st of January, and everyone has to download the app. They get their snoods and they join their district, and they just run, cycle, swim, I don't know, paddleboard, whatever. Put the miles in, and at the end of the Doddie Aid campaign, they're all totaled, and there's a winning district. But on the 29th of January, as I said, led by Mark Beaumont, it is World in a Day. and that is online from early morning to late at night. And it's on bikes, turbos, but any kind of bike, and a computer screen. So it's on Zoom. That I'll be hosting it throughout the day, and there will be guests joining us, well-known names throughout the day for podcast chats, to just give inspiration to the riders who are there throughout the day, trying to cover what Mark Beaumont did when he went around the world, 240 miles in a day. Now, but that's not what you have to do. You can join and do as much as you want. You can join in throughout the day. You can come on your bike, come off. You can go and watch your son play football, your daughter play hockey, come back and join us throughout the day. But there will be guests and there will be schedules. So that day, that World in a Day experience last year, Davy, was epic. I mean, it was pulled together. It was pulled together, I think, within about 4 weeks. Everyone jumped on board and it was an incredible day. And it's just shaping up to be an awesome day, Saturday, 29th of January, 2022.
No, bring it on, Nashy. I mean, last year, bloody hell. I mean, you're in fact, my legs were pretty sore by the end of the day, that's for sure. But yeah, you're on your MCing, comparing, it was epic, actually, absolutely epic. So no, it's a long day in the hot seat, a long day in the saddle. And it just goes to show you, Mark Beaumont, what a machine, that man, what a legend.
Yeah.
I mean, 80 of those on a road bike through weather around the world, 80 days in a row. It's just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. And I think if we can get the participation we did last year, it's going to be even more of a collective achievement when we get together on the 29th of January.
It takes a guy like that, a guy like Mark that has been there, done it, been around the world, broken the records, and then you introduce him, he gets a guy like Rob Wainwright in the mix. And those two are a force of nature. Then there's the whole foundation. Then you bring in all sorts of people, the captains, the Gabby Logans, the Hamish Watsons, Roy Lawson, Jim Hamilton, rugby royalty throughout Scotland, throughout the world, bringing that rugby community together throughout the month. And then on that day, the 29th of January, I mean, it's, we got this, we got the kit, we got the stuff on, we're buzzing for it. And you can see all the social media starting to bubble away. But I mean, a massive shout out to, you must be in lots of WhatsApp groups. The infrastructure in the background of this is incredible. A lot of people who will be there on the 29th or see it throughout please, if you're listening to this, appreciate what goes into this. Appreciate the hours, the unpaid hours, the meetings, the WhatsApp calls, the Zoom calls, the time that is spent to put everything together is incredible. And even I talk to people, I help in sort of raise as much awareness. You will be on the bike. The people that actually put the miles in on the 29th and everything that's going to go into this month, it is huge. It is so exciting that everybody is gearing up for it. We've all got COVID sort of hanging around us at the moment. We don't know what's going on, isolations and things like that. But this gives us a target. January 1st, let's go.
Yeah, no, 100%. You couldn't say it better, Nashy. I think, there's one thing, obviously, for everyone, who's going to sign up and enjoy the buzz and the competition and the fundraising fun month that is Doddie Aid. That's just the output, and there's a lot that goes on in the background. There's a few very, very special people who will be mentioned throughout the month that need to get praise and credit. Mark Beaumont, yourself, Nashy, but the master and commander. Rob Wainwright is a force of nature. If you work for Rob Wainwright, you'll know about it because you'll wake up with a string of messages at 4 a.m. from him, barking orders, and then you jump to it.
I'm going to back that up because I've told this story a million times. And have you heard my Rob Wainwright story?
No, tell me, Nashy, tell me.
And if he listens to this, he's probably heard it and he'll laugh and think, oh, whatever, Nashy. Rob came into my office pre-COVID when I had my podcast studio in the office. And now Rob Wainwright, when I was a wee laddie, Rob was captain of Scotland.
Legend, yeah.
Absolute legend. Then when I was coming up through the ranks, he played for Watsonians. For not too long, but he played. So he's a bit of Watsonians. Anyway, Rob Wainwright came to my office. Rob, do you want a cup of tea before we start recording? And he went, aye, Nashy. Yeah, that'd be great. So we're in my kitchen and he comes in and I've made the tea. I've poured the hot boiling water in, and he just approached his cup. He said, is that mine, Nashy? Put his hand in the boiling water, took the tea back out, squeezed it and threw it in the bin. And I was like, yeah, that's my captain. That's the man. The just a legend of a man, a bear of a man.
Yeah.
That just there's little things like that that mean nothing to him, but to me, it's like, yeah, this is Rob Wainwright we've got here, Scotland captain. For him leading the charge with Doddie, and for everything he does for the campaign, it's fantastic.
Rob Wainwright, yeah. Oh,
have I lost you?
Sorry, I'm back.
You're back.
Sorry, no. But yeah, hands, legs, mind of steel. That man.
Absolutely. So it's all happening. But Davy, we're here to talk about Team Edinburgh. That is the team that's going to win this thing. Tell us a bit about yourself. I've got 2 notes down here. It might be common knowledge, but they're on website, so it's out there. 2014, location.
Oh God, right.
You were on the TV.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was. As when I was living in London. It was only a matter of time before I got out. I was living in London at the time, trying to buy my first flat, and it was funny. I remember, as a lot of people, I'm sure, but buying their first flats, they arrive at open viewings, open houses, and they're like house parties. Basically, everyone is similar age, all trying to get in the ladder. It's a great way to meet people. Actually, if you're looking for it in London, go to an open viewing because you'll meet people the same age, all looking to buy the same flat. So you get it. So it's an impossible game, or it was at the time anyway. So I kept getting priced out. It was like a part-time job trying to organise viewings, see viewings, get around London to get my foot in the door. Anyway, so I ended up. I think it was one of my. Anyway, I was recommended to say, "Oh, have you seen this program? They help you out." It was very famous at the time, but I'd never actually seen it. And I applied. I remember it was in Edinburgh, and I applied on the train on the way back down to London, on the Sunday afternoon. And then on the Tuesday, I get a call from the producer, and I think the stars had just aligned, because they were looking for they were filming in London like the week after. And I remember this because Tommy, my twin brother, who, if you're looking for a great 28 minutes, was on Bargain Hunt in like 2012. But he applied like 5 years before with a couple of uni pals. So I was thinking long timeline. It's a piss in the wind. It's just going to go. But I got a call, a couple of days after saying, "Are you up for this? We need details from you. We need a Zoom call with you at the weekend." And I did that. I remember I was very hungover in my boxers, I think, speaking to some producer like early on a Saturday morning. And next thing I know, weekend after, I'm thrown in the deep end, and we're going around viewing flats with Kirsty and Phil. And I tell you what, I mean, if anyone wants to waste an hour of their lives watching me on that show, they can. But they found me a flat, and I was very happy there until I got diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and I sold it and moved to Edinburgh. And it was a great flat, just by Ladbroke Grove in West London.
Wow. I was going to say 5 minutes of fame, but you then moved on. I think this was after you were a stunt double for as a snowboarder, were you? Was that on the TV too?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, so I was. I used to do a lot of snowboarding after I left school. So I used to do seasons in France. Used to compete quite a bit in the UK and in Europe, which led me on to getting an invitation to London Freeze competition, which in the heyday was massive. One of these international snowboard competitions. They built this ginormous kicker out of scaffolding by Battersea Power Station. This thing is huge. You got to hit it. You got to hit it at least 40 miles an hour. You get a crane up to the top of the running ramp. Off you go, and you're jumping over a house. Big old jump. But so I was competing in this in London. This was a couple of years before.
Okay.
This must be 2011 or 2012, I think. And I was snowboarding there, and then back then, obviously, I mean, as you can tell now, I look quite a lot like what's that guy? Steve Jones from T4, who used to go out with Halle Berry. I remember. Anyway, so one of the producers of the show at T4, they asked me if I would like to wear Steve's snowboard jacket and do a couple of tricks off this jump for them. So that's another massive claim to fame, is I was Steve Jones's stunt double when I was snowboarding in London Freeze.
And when did the love of wine kick in? Has that been from a young age, or was it a career straight from school and into university? Because when I said to him, you were coming on, he was like, "Nashy, just get onto wine and Davy won't shut up."
It's true. I mean, I'm conscious of time, because I can, as Doddie knows from from the other day, I can speak wine, as all my colleagues will tell you too. No, but I left school at 16. Didn't really, the academic structure didn't really suit my personality, my aspirations. So I was out the door as quick as I could, and I did a chef course, and then I went a chef course, which gave me the opportunity to get a job in France, so I could go snowboarding. I was sort of linked up at the time. But food was already a passion of mine anyway. Used to holiday in France, family in Tuscany as well. So wine was something on the table growing up, which I sort of gravitated towards. And then I remember in my chef's training when I was 16, a guy came in and talked to us about wine, the fact that, you know, it's around geology and social science and art and science and you know, and it's cultural as well, and you can travel around the world with it, and it gets you pissed. So I was like, this sounds great. So I mean, over the years, you know, I spent a lot of time snowboarding. I worked in kitchens, and then moved to front of house, and then did some wine qualifications. As soon as I was 17, I did a wine qualification. Before getting jobs as a sommelier, and I've worked myself up the ladder from, you know, I worked for Michel Roux Jr. and the Gavroche, double Michelin star in London. I was a wine bar at Tesco for a long time, and now I'm at Berry Brothers and Rudd in London, who are the world's oldest wine merchant. So it's just I know a lot about wine, and as Rob will tell you, I can speak at length on the subject.
And are there any wine Zoom meetings, or could we call it dates, with you and Ali McCoist getting set up for January?
I hope so. You know what? In fact, I hope Ali's listening, because I texted Ali before I mean, it was a few weeks ago now. I want to prep him up for another wine tasting again. So we haven't locked that in yet, but I hope we can.
I think Rob's on the case, because Ali McCoist on World in a Day, when he joined us throughout the day, was just inspirational but hilarious. And I think he was the ideal guest to have, to just take, I think, the rider's mind off what was actually going on, and what pain their bodies were going through on that day. Because I think he joined us in the morning early, so did Stuart Hogg and guys like that. Then we had the schedule throughout the day. Then Ali, I think, went off to do Sky Sports and commentate, and then he rushed home and got back on the bike in his house and just told more stories the way he does.
Stories. I mean, his patter is, you could listen to that man all day. He's got an incredible gift, and he's an absolutely amazing bloke all round. So so we're looking forward to getting him back in the loop come January.
Getting back on that bike. Davy, I won't keep you too much longer, and it's something, obviously, we are here to raise the awareness, and obviously you telling your story as we've covered, and been with even Doddie this week, and what we're about to take on through January. What does the future look like? I mean, how, the way you're saying that your body is now, you're losing sort of function throughout your upper body. What is the future looking like? What is, have doctors given you timescales? Have things been put in place for you, or is it very much a sort of day to day, month to month, keep going, keep healthy, keep training outlook? It's
very much the latter. You know, if I give myself, you know, timelines, you know, I don't watch deadlines. You know, I'm here for the day to day. Timelines, you know, I forgot about timelines when I got told I had MMD, and then the average person dies within 18 months, you know, and then here I am 3 years later. There's certain things I struggle to do now, but, you know, I can still run my bike better than many. I can still, I'm still doing what I'm still living my life to the full, although, you know, I am impeded and challenged more than most. You know, the future for me is, you know, I'm going to, you know, I'll think about it day to day, of course, live my day to the full, you know, for my wife, my son, my family. But of course, you know, my timelines further out are going to be shorter than most people's. or and if they are, and if the reality is, it's going to come a stage in not so distant future, which I'm going to have. I'm going to be in serious. I'm going to be in a bit of bother, physically. So, but Nashy, what I was coming to earlier, that's if I open those floodgates, the tsunami comes in. So I need to, obviously, of course, I need to understand and embrace what's going on. But I need to use that as power to motivate for my day to day, live my life to the full. So, I mean, yeah. So the future is there's an certain dark hole, further down the tunnel. But if I look down the tunnel too far, I'll get lost. And so I'm living the day to day. Coming back to what we can do in January, and that's as far as ahead as I'm willing to look right now. But it's all about Doddie Aid. It's all about Team Edinburgh. We've got some absolutely incredible guys in the team this year. Circus Hoy, Ailey Barber, Hamish Watson, JJ Chalmers, John Davidson, the Mad Giraffe, the guy who rowed across the Atlantic single-handed back in January and February this year, amongst many others. So I think we're gonna use that tidal momentum to keep our spirits high and smash Doddie Aid out the park. I just want as well, not to plug it too hard, Nashy, but for all the Edinburgh schools, I know you're Edinburgh boy, Watson boy, PwC for sure. But I think it'd be great to any Harriets, Ackies, Boroughmuir, Gillespies, Watsons, guys who like to get involved in Doddie Aid, because there's one thing which is great this year, which is what you mentioned briefly earlier about logging your miles. In the new Doddie Aid app, which has been developed this year, it's super slick, which means there's going to be a league leaderboard, which you can create your own league for your own district and as in Doddie Aid overall, which means you can compete against other schools, you can compete against your peers, your friends, people in other districts. So it'll be a really fun way to keep the competition high, intense, and fundraise and get fit along the way.
Absolutely. And Davy, give a shout out to your documentary, The Ride for MND, your team and your guys that are going to be with you on the 29th.
Yeah, so
support group like.
Thanks, Nashy. So again, big shout out to all the Ride for MND crew. If people don't know, please go to therideon.com. People who don't know me already, I mean, we talked a lot about my story with MND, but I'm very much a cyclist. Huge sports fan, but cyclist at heart. Last year we rode around the North Coast 500. I sort of set up around the North Coast 500 in 4 days to celebrate the 2-year anniversary of when I got diagnosed with MND, which is the anniversary I was supposed to die on. We rode around, that very incredibly hilly route in 4 days, and we smashed it out of the park. We raised over 150 grand. I got accommodation from the Prime Minister, who's not a popular man up here anyway, but I've got accommodation from the Prime Minister nonetheless, and won cycling weekly fundraiser of the award. So there's a lot of momentum and praise we got publicity for. But joined along the way was my very dear friend, a guy called Will Nangle, who's a very talented filmer and documentary maker. And he followed us along the way to document our story and our journey on the cycle ride. But what transpired throughout the 4 days was actually the story was a lot wider than just the cycle ride. It's about my story with M&G, my families, and then the wider communities. So we've got Mark Beaumont, who's in the film, Jill Douglas at the foundation, Doddie, and then also Professor Sarakin Chandran, who is the leading research professor at Anne Rowling Centre, or the MMD Research Centre here in Edinburgh. So it's an incredible personal film. It's very difficult. I've seen it once. It's very difficult for me to watch. It's very close to my bone, being in it about me. But he's made the film incredibly sensitively, and it's incredibly. I hope people will be either motivated or get their own inspiration from it. So the ride on will premiere next February. So for any further details, including the trailer, anyone, please go to therideon.com, and it will be all the details will be in there.
Yeah, and Davy, how do people get in touch with you on Instagram? What's your Instagram tag?
My Instagram tag is Davy Zyw. Please bear with me, my unusual Polish surname, but Davy is spelled Davyzyw, which for my Polish granddad. Davy Zyw, Davyzyw.
Yeah, and everyone sign up to Team Edinburgh. Download that app, get your snood, donate £20 and gear up for the 1st of January. And then find yourself a bike, a turbo, borrow one, whatever. Get on Zoom on Saturday, the 29th of January for World in a Day. And we want to smash that one out the park. Davy, you're an inspiration, mate. You, Doddie, the foundation, you're trailblazing. You're going to help so many people. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for spreading the message, talking about your journey, what you're up against and your family, and what the whole Zyw family is taking on. Good on you, mate. It's always a pleasure, and I can't wait to hopefully catch up throughout January. But the way the world is now, I'll see you online a lot.
Nashy, I look forward to it. And let's make sure we actually meet up in person too. In fact, I'm not sure if I want to come up for a 2 early morning dip, but I'll definitely be up for one at some point throughout January. So let's book that in.
I've still got to go in tonight. I've not been in the water yet. as I'm going in every day during December, it's still to be done. But mate, that's getting in some cold water. I'll take it, mate. You're the inspiration. You're the man that is helping and changing a lot of people's lives. So good on you.
Thank you, Nash.
Right,
It's been a pleasure as always.
Take care.
Cheers.